The Frog Race. Please read along with me as I read aloud. Also, feel free to mute the video and try to read it on your own. The Frog Race. Dad, Mike said when he woke up, what happened in the jumping frog? I missed the end of the tale. I was sleeping. I did not tell it to the end, said his dad. When you drifted off to sleep, I stopped. Oh, tell the ending, said Mike. Mike's dad picked up the tale where he had left off. Big Jim handed his frog to Pete and ran off to the stream. Pete held Big Jim's frog in his hand. Pete looked at the frog. Then Pete reached into his pocket and grabbed a pile of limes. Yum! Big Jim's frog drooled. The frog ate the whole pile of limes from Pete's hand. Then Pete set the frog down. While Pete was feeding the frog limes, Big Jim was down at the stream. He tossed off his boots and went frog hunting. At last he nabbed a nice green frog. He ran back and handed the frog to Pete. There's your frog, said Jim. Just set him down there next to my frog. Then we will let them compete to see which one of them is the fastest. Pete set his frog down. All set, said Jim. All set, said the man. Then Jim yelled, Jump, frogs, jump. Pete gave the two frogs a tap to get them jumping. His frog hopped off nice and quick, but Jim's frog just sat there. Once he hitched up his legs like he was fixing to jump, but it was no use. With all those limes in him, he was planted there just as solid as a rock. His tummy was full. Pete's frog hopped and hopped till it got to the finish line. Fine race, said Pete. He took Jim's $10 and slipped the cash in his pocket. Then Pete tipped his hat and set off. Well, Big Jim was stunned. What happened to my frog? He said. I hope he's not sick. He bent down and picked up the frog and rubbed his tummy. Goodness, said Jim. He must have had a big lunch. I think Pete tricked me. He fed my frog too much to eat. Jim said Big Jim let out a whoop. His face got red. Jim ran to catch Pete, but it was no use. Pete had run off. Pete had tricked Big Jim.